Hello everybody and welcome to today's class. Okay, so yeah, today we will be diving into the very fascinating world of structuralism. Okay, something that unveils the hidden architectures or structures that shape everything from myths to modern advertisements to culture to society to family, okay, and far beyond what any single storyteller intends. Now, structuralism, they like it fundamentally and very primarily studies the deep structures that lurk behind culture, literature, and human expression. So, in other words, it posits that meaning is created or emerges from systems rather than individuals, using language as the ultimate model for decoding all cultural phenomena. Now, in this context, texts become very much important, okay, and texts, they reflect broader cultural patterns instead of unique personal outbursts. So think of it as revealing the code running beneath the surface of stories that we narrate to one another. Understood? Now, like somehow or the other, structuralism, like as an approach, directly challenged the romantic idea that literature simply depicts an author's personality or hidden emotions, and that's why it became very revolutionary, okay, at the first place. Now, instead of doing that, structuralism says that like literature, okay, like when it comes to literature, meanings are kind of like created from language system themselves, okay, independent of any creator's intentions. Now, this was the big shift. So the shift was there was a movement from asking what does the author mean to how does meaning actually work within the system. Now, this actually paved the way for a more scientific and systematic study of literature that treats text like puzzles, okay, with universal rules. So that is one of the reasons why structuralism as a theory became very revolutionary at the first place, because it also upended traditional criticism. So in other words, it somehow turned the traditional criticism around by demanding rigor, much like a scientist dissecting a specimen rather than waxing poetic about its soul. Now, here comes Roland Barthes, who's very important, okay, because he was the one who captured that fire, okay, and argued that authors do not really invent meaning, okay, they merely blend signs that are already floating in culture, that are already existing in culture. He stated that writing, instead writing destroys every voice, and true meaning actually awakens only in the reader's hands. So he flipped the script, okay, to make audiences the real creators, okay, the readers. Okay, according to him, in the process of meaning formation, readers become central. Understood? So his essay, that is Death of the Author, okay, it sealed this revolution, proclaiming that writers are just conduits, shuffling pre-existing cultural elements into new forms. So no more godlike authors dictating eternal truths, meaning multiplying endlessly through diverse readers. So yeah, you can read a lot of theoretical books, okay, the books on theory, to understand them in a very deeper manner. Understood? The book that I read mostly is Literary Theory by David Carter, which is a very interesting book. You can read it. You can buy the book from Amazon. It's available. The PDF version of the text is also available, I think, online. So you can search for it. Now, then we come to Ferdinand de Saussure, whose linguistic revolution ignited it all. Okay, transforming humanities by modeling signs, structures, and systems as the bedrock of thought. So his core insight was that language does not follow us. It precedes and molds every idea that we have. Now, he came up with two of the very interesting concepts called Lang and Perol. So according to him, Lang meant the collective, the rule-bound system everyone shares, and Perol is actually those fleeting individual utterances that we make daily. Now, structuralists emphasize more on Lang because according to them, the patterns of Lang remain stable across countless texts, okay, letting us map reliable codes and systems. And this particular distinction ensures analysis stays objective, focusing on enduring structures over some quirky personal flair. Then we come to another concept that was propounded by very own Saussure, that is sign. According to Ferdinand de Saussure, sign is actually a combination of the signifier and the signified, where he said that signifier is actually the sound or the written form of a word, and signified is the idea that is thought when the language or the sound is uttered. For example, PE and pen is actually the signifier, and the pen, the object that is pen, the thought one, the idea, that is the signified. Now, crucially, meaning is not glued to real world objects, but they sparks from differences between signs in the system, according to Saussure. Understood? So he, like, to make these things easier, he borrows a very interesting example of traffic lights, okay, in action. So like he says that we have red, then we have yellow and green. So he says that the meanings of these words are only understood through context and only because they are within a system. Understood? So somehow or other he talks about the fact that they are relational, like the meaning, okay, is relational. Okay, so according to Ferdinand de Saussure, he says that red, yellow, green carry no magical sense. Okay, red is not redness by nature. They mean stop, caution, go, purely because of their positions, okay, and contrasts within the system. So oppositions is important. The concept oppositions is important here. So this everyday example brilliantly shows how relational differences construct all meaning, okay, from roadsides to novels. No inherent truths, just some clever contrasts and oppositions. Now then we come to another concept developed by Ferdinand de Saussure, that was semiotics. Okay, so semiotics is nothing but the science of signs and symbols, okay, which studies how language, fashion, advertisements, rituals, films and literature all communicate. So the driving question that is lying here is, how exactly do these signs generate meaning? So structuralism grabs semiotics as its powerhouse tool, applying it to dissect culture's symbolic webs with precision. Okay, and when structuralism meets semiotics, it means structuralism is actually the hands-on method for breaking down open underlying structures, while semiotics broadly charts every sign systems out there. Understood? So in literature, structuralism deploys semiotic tools to reveal how texts encode cultural rules. Clear? Now moving on, okay, according to structuralism, meaning flows from structures, not authors, okay, and the signs, they thrive on differences, they thrive on oppositions, okay, and cultures yield to scientific scrutiny. And then narratives universally follow patterns like myths built on binaries, okay, and these ideas together, they equip us to decode any text as a mode in vast predictable networks. Understood? Now, somehow or other, all this actually fosters bold, cross-disciplinary readings, blending literature with anthropology or media studies and even cultural studies. Understood? Because we've seen that literature has evolved from, so sorry for the interruption, I got a call. Okay, so literature somehow has evolved from isolated art to a vibrant slice of systematic meaning making. So we're talking about meaning formation here. Okay, now it shifts to another critic and theorist called Levi-Strauss, who also is very prominent when it comes to structuralism. Okay, he comes up with his concepts like binary oppositions. Okay, he somehow or the other attach literary studies or structuralism to myths. Okay, and then according to him, binary oppositions are very, very important to understand the meaning. Okay, to understand the meaning that is underlined within a text or in a text. Okay. Now, he says that these binary oppositions are important because they actually are very relational in nature, and we get the meanings out of those differences and contrasts. Understood? For example, a cat is a cat because it is not a dog. A dog is a dog because it is not a cat. Understood? Red is red because it is not green. Understood? So, somehow or the other, we, like, these binary oppositions, okay, they drive these stories, okay, with text as documents of universal mental writing. Understood? So somehow or the other, texts become cultural documents, okay, shaped by universal structures according to Levi-Strauss, okay, and according to cultural studies and structuralism as well. Understood? Now, all the way from the beginning, if you kind of see that structuralism has transformed literary and cultural theory, okay, it shifted the attention from authors to systems, okay. So somehow or the other, it reshaped theory by dethroning authors and enthroning systems, proving that meaning is structural, not personal. Understood? So thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope I could at least make you understand, okay, about different concepts that are related to structuralism. And if you have any sort of confusion, you may definitely contact me. Okay, you can definitely, I think, write in the comment section as well. Okay, and I would definitely respond. All right, thank you very much.